Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and common sense point of view. Well, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and is looking forward to a wonderful new year in 2025. This week, we're going to be looking at who will be replacing Mitch McConnell as a United States Senator. Mitch has been up there since the 1980s. His term will be up in 2026, which is only about a year and a week away. So we're going to see people jockeying for position to start their campaigns in this coming year. So we're going to be looking at some of the key contenders and names that are being thrown about right now. And I'd like to know who you think would be a great candidate to replace Mitch McConnell as a United States Senator. Remember, if they're going to be a viable candidate, they're going to need a few things. First of all, they're going to need statewide name recognition. People never heard of you, they're not going to vote for you. So somebody who has some statewide name recognition and somebody who can also be able to raise a lot of money. In the last campaign, Mitch McConnell was running against Amy McGrath. He raised $63 million for that campaign. She raised nearly $10,000 or $20,000 more than he did. So that's somebody you're going to be able to raise a whole lot of money. So put who you think would be a great candidate in the comments, and let's kind of do some early polling on who you think would be the best choice. Let's look at some of the names that are being thrown around right now. First of all is the former governor, Matt Bevin. If you remember, he first entered Kentucky politics not when he was running for governor, but when he ran to replace Mitch McConnell as senator in the Republican primary. And of course, Mitch won anyway, but it got Bevin's name out there and showed that he was a viable candidate. And some people are throwing his name around, see maybe he'll actually try to do the job he started to do at first. However, knowing a little bit about Mr. Bevin, the former governor, he's a business person who's gone back into civilian business, and I think he's very comfortable there. So it's possible, but I think it is unlikely that former Governor Bevin would enter that race. One of the other people's names who's been thrown around is also a former governor candidate, and that is Daniel Cameron. Now, if you remember, he served as the Kentucky Attorney General and then ran for governor against Beshear. Now, of course, he didn't win the governor's race. However, some people had suggested that he should have really ran for Attorney General again. You could do that for 2 terms, and he'd only done it for 1. If he had done that, he'd have more name recognition, and then he'd be in a position to run against somebody for governor who wasn't an incumbent, or maybe even then run to replace Mitch McConnell. However, since he did run for governor and really spent his political capital and was not able to win that campaign, I think he might indeed run, but I think he has spent his political capital and therefore probably would not win the nomination, but we'll see what happens in 2026. Another person's name who's being thrown around is also a former governor candidate, and that is Mrs. Kelly Craft. If you remember, she had ran for governor in the Republican primary here just 2 or 3 years ago, and she had served in the Trump administration as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. So she does have statewide name recognition, and her husband are independently wealthy. She can literally fund her own campaign herself without raising any money at all and still be one of the top funded campaigns. So definitely a very viable candidate. And I would be surprised if she doesn't run to replace Mitch McConnell and just might get the position. Now, of course, we have people in the Kentucky Congressional Delegation in the House of Representatives. Representatives have 2-year terms. Senators have 6-year terms on the federal level. So, of course, you've got a lot of people in Kentucky's House of Representatives up there in Washington that may want to go over to the Senate. Out of the different ones, I really think there is one particular congressman from Kentucky that may run a campaign to become the senator from Kentucky. And I believe that is from the 6th Congressional District, Congressman Andy Barr, I believe is the most likely candidate to actually run for that position. And of course, if he does, then that seat will be open and we'll see a lot of shuffling, people running to replace then Andy Barr. So that's all the different possibilities on the Republican side. We might see some people come out of the woodwork, but those are the people who already have statewide name recognition that I believe will probably be the most viable candidates. Now, of course, the Democrats aren't going to just let this go for free. They're going to put up a candidate as well, seeing this as an opportunity to snatch this seat back from the Republicans. So who is probably the Democrats going to put up? Well, I believe their most viable candidate would be current Governor Andy Beshear. Lord forbid. However, since Andy had wanted to be Kamala's vice president running mate, and we talked about that extensively, how he was campaigning to get that job, but he didn't get that. And since she lost, praise the Lord, he's not going to get a cabinet position. So he's term limited. He can't do anything else except go to Washington, D.C. So he might very well run to replace Mitch McConnell. However, if you've been noticing the news lately, especially national news, Andy Beshear has been working a lot with the Democratic Governors Association. He's been served as vice chair and has been voted to later become the chairman of this, and is really getting his name out there nationwide, positioning himself to either run for president or as vice president in 4 years. So whether he runs for president or to replace Mitch McConnell, I think we will be looking at him running for one of those two positions. Who's another Democrat that has statewide name recognition? Well, that'd be Potsy from Happy Days. No, I mean Amy McGrath. Again, she had ran against Mitch McConnell here last time and had lost. She does have statewide name recognition. She raised more than $90 million in her campaign. However, she has run for all kinds of things, raised more money than any other candidate, and has still lost in all of those campaigns. So even though she has that name recognition, if that's the candidate they put up, well, she's not going to win almost no matter who the Republicans will put up against her. Her political chances are over, I believe, in Kentucky. So I believe it will be, unless it is Andy Beshear who runs, who would have a very strong chance of winning. If they don't put him up as their candidate, it'll be a Republican. So the question is, which Republican will it be? Which one do you think will be running? And who would you support? So put your comments below. I'd like to find out where conservatives in Kentucky are really leaning right now, or if there's a name out there that we haven't considered that we should look into and talk about in the coming weeks and months. Well, that's the news we have for this week. So until next week, Patriots, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday,